Yan. So, welcome for our today's lesson, no? So, for this topic, we will be discussing powers and roots of complex numbers. No? So, how do we evaluate complex numbers involving exponents, no, or powers, and of course, involving roots as well. No? So, konting review muna tayo, no? So, start tayo with the powers of a complex number. So, alam natin, of course, Z is the representation of our complex number. And alam natin na we have different forms, no? We have the rectangular and the polar form. And for the polar form, we have two. We have two parang subforms, no? We have the trigonometric form and the phasor form. Okay. So, yung trigonometric natin, okay, so ito siya, yung ating R times cosine theta plus J sin theta. Okay, so theta represents the angle, no? So, this is also equal to, yun yung trigonometric. And kapag phasor naman, ang equivalent niya is R angle theta. No? So, yun siya. So, we have this what we call the Moivre's theorem. No? The Moivre's theorem. Na kung saan sabi daw dito, no? So, if we have cosine theta plus J sin theta, and the quantity of those function is raised to a certain power n, no? General power n, representation of n, it is equivalent to cosine n theta. So, ibig sabihin, multiply daw natin yung power natin to the angle, no? To the theta. So, we have cosine n theta plus j sin n theta. Okay, so, i-apply natin yon. Paano kung mayroong exponent yung ating complex number, no? So, paano kung may power yung complex number natin? So, in this case, for example, if we have z squared, ibig sabihin yung complex number natin naka-square, no? So, this is equivalent to r squared. For the trigonometric form, ha, we have r squared times the quantity of cosine theta plus j sin theta squared, no? Quantity cosine theta plus j sin theta squared. Okay, so kapag pinolar form naman natin, equivalent niyan sa polar form is r squared angle to theta. Okay, so yun yung equivalent niya. So, kapag ginamit natin yung De Moivre's theorem, no, dun sa trigonometric form natin, no, dun sa cosine theta plus j sin theta quantity squared. So, ang magiging parang final form for exponents of complex number is r squared times the quantity of cosine 2 theta plus j sin 2 theta if n or if the power is 2. So, generally, no, sabi dito, no, generally, okay, so, pwedeng 2, pwedeng 3, pwedeng 5, depende kung ano yung nakalagay, no. So, generally, z raised to n or z raised to n power of n is equivalent to r raised to n times cosine n theta plus j sin n theta for the trigonometric form. And sa phasor form naman natin, we have r raised to n, no, r raised to n angle n theta. No, n times theta. Yun naman yung para doon sa after ni angle. Okay? So, again, no, recap lang to. How do we get yung r and theta natin specifically or the x and y, no? Depende sa hinahanap. So, for the x, again, x is the real part of the complex number. Yun yung walang I or walang j, no? So, for the y naman, that's the imaginary part. Yun yung may j or yun yung may I. Okay? So, for the r naman, ngayong r natin is just the absolute of j, no? So, yung modulus natin, no? So, that is absolute of z. Then, for the theta or the argument, that is argument of z. Okay? So, those are the formulas na gagamitin natin, no? For evaluation. Okay? So, next we have, of course, for the root of complex number, alam natin na root is also also another form of exponent except that the exponent is in fraction, no? Fractional exponent ang meron tayo. So, sabi dito, if we have the nth root, no? Nth root of z raised to m, no? To the power of m. Okay, so this is also equivalent to z raised to m over n. No? So, yun yung equivalent niya. Kaya siya naging fractional exponent. And kapag ka-convert natin, ang equivalent na to for the phasor form is r raised to m over n angle m over n times theta. So, general rule naman na to. However, itong formula na to, this is only applicable for the principal root. 'di ba? Alam naman natin na if we are getting the root of a certain number, depende kung ano yung root, no? Pwedeng sa square root, pwedeng cube root, pwedeng fourth root, fifth root, etc. So, dumadami yung values na makukuha natin. Okay, so, generally, okay, sabi dito, no, the root of a complex number, okay, is equivalent to the nth root of r, or the modulus of the complex number raised to m, angle m over n, no, m over n, times the quantity of the argument plus 2 pi k. So, yung k, it determines anong root yung hinahanap mo. So, ano ba yung value ng k na ipa-plug natin, no? So, of course, depende sa kung ano yung root na hinahanap mo. Sabi dito, no, k is 0, 1, 2, up until n minus 1. So, ibig sabihin, yun yung mga values na kukunin mo until ma-reach mo yung n minus 1. For example, if ang hinahanap natin is square root, so what is square root? That is 2, diba? Ang value ng n is 2. So, ibig sabihin, 2 minus 1 hanggang 1 ka lang. So, ibig sabihin, ang values ng k mo, 0 and 1. So, dalawang beses ka magsasubstitute, 0 and 1. Kapag ka cube root naman, tatlo, 0, 1, 2. So on and so forth. Okay? So, let's apply, no, yung mga theorems na to na diniscuss natin earlier. So, okay, so let's have our first example. Sabi dito, z is equal to 2 plus j quantity raised to 15. So, pinapahanap sa atin yung value ng z. So, game evaluate natin. So, we have here, sabi, no, kapag meron tayong z raised to n, this is equivalent to r raised to n, angle and theta, no? So, ito yung gagamitin natin na formula. So, we have the absolute value of 2 plus j raised to 15, angle 15, argument ng 2 plus j. Okay, so ito yung formula na gagamitin natin. So, syempre hindi naman natin to masosolve ng mano-mano, so kailangan talaga natin ng calcu, no? So, let's have here. Okay, so labas ko lang yung calcu natin, no? So, yan, labas ko lang yung calcu natin. Yan. So, usog ko lang yung board, no? Para kita. Ayan. So, type natin sa calcu natin, no? So, we have here, wait lang. Yan. So, sabi dito, no? So, absolute value, that is shape height, no? Para lumabas yung absolute value or absolute sign. 2 plus I raised to 15. No? So, ayan, ganyan siya. Then, angle, okay, 15, tas yung argument, shift to 1, no, for the argument. So, 2 plus I. Okay? So, therefore, equivalent niya is, sulat natin, no? This is equivalent to 1, 3, 6, 7, 6, 2 plus j 10, 8, 6, 9, 1. Okay, so ganun na siya. This is our answer. No, so sabi, no, ang equivalent ng 2 plus j raised to 15 is 136,762 plus j 108,691. Okay, so that's for example number 1. No? So, hide ko lang ulit yung calculator natin. No? So, yan. So, game, let's proceed with example number 2. So, sabi dito, we have, palit tayo ng color. So, we have z is equal to 2j 187 minus j 1989 over 1 minus j 23. Okay? So, let us evaluate. Okay, so review lang tayo ng kaunti, no? Review lang tayo ng kaunti on the property of imaginary number, which is our I or our J. No? So, complex, drawing lang ako ng ng complex diagram natin, or complex plane natin, rather, the Argand diagram. No? So, this is the real, it's the imaginary part. Okay, so, ayan. Ayan. So, we have here 1. Of course, this is the real part, no? 1. This is negative 1. Then, alam natin, pag imaginary, of course, nag-i-start siya sa I. Then, sa baba is negative I. Okay? So, first, okay, so we have, let's say, if the power of j is 1, no? J raised to 1. Of course, this is equivalent to j itself, or I. No? So, ito siya. Ito yung j natin. No? Next, we have j squared. So, ano ba yung value ng j squared? Remember that j, diba? J is equivalent to square root of negative 1. And alam natin na kapag in-square natin to, syempre both sides, mawawala yung square root tsaka yung square dun sa kabilang side. Therefore, j squared is equal to negative 1. Diba? So, asan yung negative 1 natin? Ito. This is j squared. Okay? So, next, j cube. No? J cube. Alam natin, so yung j cube, pwede natin i-dissect yung j cube natin. J squared times j. No? So, pwede natin yung i-dissect as j squared plus times j rather. So, alam naman natin na j squared is equivalent to negative 1. So, therefore, negative 1 times j or j cube is equal to negative j or negative I. So, ibig sabihin, ito yung j cube natin. Okay? Next, we have j to the fourth. No? So, alam natin yung j to the fourth is simply j squared times j squared. Diba? And alam natin na j squared is negative 1. So, negative 1 times negative 1, this is equivalent to positive 1. So, ibig sabihin, yung j to the fourth natin nandito sa positive 1 natin. Next, we have j to the fifth. And alam natin j to the fifth is equivalent to j4 times j1. And j4, alam natin j to the fourth power is 1. Simply 1. So, ibig sabihin, j to the fifth is also equivalent to j. So, bumalik siya dito sa una. Okay? And ganun din yung mga susunod. J to the sixth, j to the sixth, that is equivalent to j squared times j to the fourth, which is essentially j squared, essentially negative 1. So, kung mapapansin niyo, ang movement is umiikot. No? Yung value. Umiikot. Ayan. So, ibig sabihin, kahit gaano kataas, no? Kahit gaano kataas exponent ng imaginary number natin, it will still lead to the same repetitive numbers. J, j squared, j cube, and j to the fourth. And meron siyang kanya-kanyang values. Okay? So, burahin ko muna to, no? Ayan. So, alam natin. Magigay ko dito sa kabila. I-write natin dito sa kabila. Okay? So, of course, j is equal to j. J squared is equal to negative 1. J cube is equal to negative j. And j to the fourth is equal to 1. So, what we will do, if we have exponent higher than 4, no? So, hanapin natin yung nearest, no? Yung nearest na divisible by 4 doon sa exponent, then i-minus natin. Yung matitira, ang magiging matitira lang dapat is either j, j squared, j cube, or j to the fourth. Okay? So, game, we have 2. Ano yung pinakamalapit sa 187? So, that would be 184. So, ibig sabihin, 187 minus 184, that will be 3. No? Then, minus j. What is the nearest to 1989? So, that is 1988. So, 1989 minus 1988, we will have j. Then, over 1 minus j raised to what is ano ba pinakamalapit sa 23? That is 20. Diba? So, 20 is divisible by 4. So, ibig sabihin, 23 minus 20, that will be 3. Okay? Next. What is the value of j cube? No, alam natin that is negative j. So, ayan. Then, j is equal to j itself over 1 minus, what is j cube? So that is negative j. And alam natin, negative j times negative 1, that is positive j. Okay? So, na-reduce na natin, pwede na natin siya i-evaluate. So, paano ba tayo, again, no? Paano tayo mag-evaluate ng, com, ng complex numbers? So, kunin natin yung conjugate. Dapat yung denominator natin is walang imaginary number. So, 1 minus j over 1 minus j, no? So, this will be, numerator muna tayo. So, we have negative 2j, okay, times negative, oops, sorry. So, we have negative j, then negative 2j times negative j. So, na dalawang negative, it will be positive. But alam natin that j times j is equal to negative 1. So, therefore, we will have negative 2. So, this is negative, then this will be negative 2. Okay? Then, negative j times negative j. So, that will be positive j squared, which is negative 1. No? Over 1. Then, j times j. No? J times negative j rather. So, that is equivalent to positive 1. Kasi negative, rather j squared is equal to negative 1 times positive is positive 1. So, combine lang natin dun sa numerator, no? Yung mga real tsaka yung imaginary. So, yung real part natin is negative 3 minus 3j or j3 minus j3 over 2. Okay? Tapos, i-split lang natin, no? Para maging clear kung alin yung imaginary sa hindi. So, I mean, imaginary sa real. So, we have negative 3 over 2 minus j3 over 2. So, this is our answer. No? So, ayan. So, I hope malinaw, no? Kung paano natin nakuha yung second problem natin. Okay? So, game, third problem tayo, no? So, we have here D. Sabi, z is equal to cube root of 8. So, papakita natin ano ba yung mga roots ng 8, no? Kasi alam natin, no, pag kinalculate natin, simple calculate natin, what is the cube root of 8? Ang ilalabas is 2, no? So, however, hindi lang siya yung root ng 8, ng cube root ng 8, no? So, meron pa tayong dalawa. So, yun yung hahanapin natin ngayon, no? So, yung 2 later, po-prove natin bakit siya yung nilalabas na value, which is the principal root. Okay? So, since this is in the cube root form, no, so alam natin yung ano, no, yung n z raised to m. So this is equivalent to the nth root of z raised to m. Yan, ganyan. Angle m over n theta plus 2 pi k. Okay, so ito yung formula na gagamitin natin. So we have here the nth root. Okay, so the nth root, which is 3 of absolute value of 8. Argument, that is 1 over 3. Kasi diba, ang exponent ni 8 is 1. No? So, times argument of 8 plus 2 pi k. Okay, and alam natin, no, ang value ng k natin is 0, 1, then 3 minus 1 is 2. So, mag-stop tayo sa 2. So, itong tatlo. Okay? So, game, evaluate natin. So, we have z sub 0. No? So, what if k is equal to 0? So, gamitan natin ng calcu yan, of course. No? So, nabas ko ulit yung calcu natin. Ayan. Sub ko lang ng kaunti yung ating board, no? Ayan. So, okay. So, palabasin natin. Okay, so we have here cube root, shift square root para lumabas yung cube root. Then shift height 8. Okay. Then we have the shift angle, no, para lumabas yung angle sign. 1 over 3 parenthesis, shift to 1 para lumabas yung argument. Then 8. Yan. plus 2 shift pi. Then yung k, instead na, since wala tayong variable na k, no, pwede na, actually pwede naman any letter, no, but I prefer using x, no, para at least alam natin x is the unknown. Okay? So, pag na-type na natin to, hindi natin to i-equal. Bakit? Kailangan natin i-plug yung value ng x or ng k. No? So, instead of equals, calc yung pipindutin natin. Then, pag nagtanong yan, what is x? What's the value of x? So, lagyan lang natin 0. No? Kasi 0 tayo mag-i-start. Then, equals 2. So, ibig sabihin, z sub 0 is equal to 2. This is the principal root. No, yan yung lumalabas sa calcu natin. Ngayon, ano yung dalawa pang root ng square root ng cube root of 8? So, ganun din, no? Hindi na natin aalisin yung tinype nating equation, no, or expression. Pindutin na lang natin calc. What is x? 1. Since tapos na tayo sa 0, then we have negative 1 plus j square root of 3. Okay, so this is our second root, no? Aside from the principal root. I mean, other than the principal root. Okay, so next, we have the third root, no? Z sub 2. Okay, so, sir, bakit third root? Z sub 2 pa lang. Remember, we started at 0, which is the principal root. Okay, so, game, calc 3, or rather 2. Ayun, nagkamali pa ako. Calc 2, ayan, so equals negative 1 minus j cube. So, ibig sabihin, kapag tinanong kayo sa susunod, no, ano ang cube root ng 8? Tanungin mo muna, anong root ba hinahanap mo? Principal root ba? Second root ba? Third root ba? Okay? Or, in general, principal root ba or yung other roots? No? So normally, ang tinatanong lang naman, principal root. Diba? Kaya sa calcu, madalas ang dinidisplay the principal root. So, eto siya. Okay? So, 2, our answer is, eto, buo. No? Ayan. So, yan yung buong answer natin. Okay? So, that is example number 3. Game, example number 4 tayo. Okay? So, we have here, number 4. Ayan. So, sa 4, ang tanong, no? Z squared is equal to 15 minus J 12. Ang pinapahanap sa atin is, of course, the value of Z. So, baba ko lang yung calcu ulit natin. Ayan, para makita yung board. Ayan. So, j squared is equal to 15 minus j 12. Okay, so, what we will do is, i-isolate natin, ano natin na z lang talaga yung nasa left side. So, kunin natin yung square root na itong dalawa. No? So, makakancel to. Therefore, z is equal to square root of 15 minus j 12. Okay? So, ito yung bago nating equation, no? So, para mahanap natin yung value ng z. Okay? So, next, okay, anong gagawin natin? So, since this is in the, root form, so, gagamitin natin yung nth root, which is 2, no? So, hindi na natin ilalagay yung 2. Absolute value of 15 minus j 12. So, wala na rin tayong m kasi 1 lang naman yon. So, hindi na natin sinusulat. Angle, 1/2, no? Kasi m is equal to 1, n is equal to 2. Diba? Times the argument, no? Argument ng 15 minus j 12 plus 2 pi k. And alam natin na ang k natin is only 0 and 1. Kasi square root lang hinahanap natin. Okay? So, game, let us evaluate. So, we have here. Okay, so, z sub 0, no? So, z sub 0. Of course, gagamit tayo ng calcu. Usog ko lang, no? Para may space tayo sa calcu natin. Ayan. So, game, plug na natin, no? So, we have here the square root. Shift height para sa absolute. 15 minus 12i. Then shift negative sign para sa angle. Then 1/2. Shift to 1 para lumabas yung argument. No? 15 minus 12i, then plus 2 pi alpha x, no? So, palabasin ulit natin yung x. Then, calc 0. Okay, so we have here 4.136. So, 3 decimal places, no? But it's up to you, no? Kung ilan ang preferred ninyong ilagay na decimal. But personally, ako, 3 is enough, no? So, round off lang. So, 4.136 minus j 1.451. So, this is z sub 0. Then, compute natin yung z sub 1. So, calc 1. Ayan. So, we have here z sub 1 is equal to negative 4 point. Actually, it's the same, no? Nagkabaligtad lang yung sign. So, j 1.451. Ayan. So, this is our answer. Yan yun. So, ito yung values ng z, no? So, kapag ganyan, no, pagka roots, kailangan nyo ipakita lahat. Ano ba yung lahat ng roots ng z mo? Okay? So, and let's dig in number 5. Okay, for the last example. Okay, so number 5, you have here z squared plus z plus 1 minus j b equal to 0. Okay, so baba ulit natin yung calculator na nakaharang na naman. Ayan. So, we have here, no? Yung z squared plus z plus 1 minus j is equal to 0. So, somewhat, no? Let's analyze yung ating problem. So, may resemblance siya into a very famous equation, no? So, the quadratic equation. So, ano ba yung quadratic equation natin, no? So, review tayo ng ating high school algebra, no? So, we have ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0. No? So, ito yung quadratic equation natin. And to solve this, meron tayong different ways, but the general way to solve this is using the quadratic formula, which is negative b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So, ganito din, no? Ito din yung gagamitin natin na values, or rather formula to solve for our complex problem, no? So, yung z squared plus z plus 1 minus j is equal to 0. So, however, may modification lang ng kaunti when we are dealing with complex numbers. So, instead of plus minus, negative b plus minus, so, hindi na natin sinasama yung minus sign. So, ang nilalagay na lang instead is plus lang. Okay? So, negative b plus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So, that's how you compute complex quadratic equations. Okay? Or quadratic complex equations. Okay? So, game. Let us solve. Let us determine. No? So, what is a? Of course, 1. No? Yun yung sa z squared. Okay? Then b. What is our b? 1 din. Yun yung sa z. Then for the c, yung may iwan. Ito yung 1 minus j. Okay, 1 minus j. So, game. Let us proceed. No, z is equal to 1 squared. No? Or negative 1 squared. Ayan, negative 1 squared. Plus square root of 1 squared minus 4 times 1 times 1 minus j. Okay? Over 2 times 1. No? So, ganyan siya. Okay. Next, so we have here negative 1 plus square root of 1 minus 4. Then plus j4. So, 10 nang galing yan. Okay, so remember, any number multiplied to 1 is equal to itself. So, this can be simplified into negative 4 times 1 minus j. Okay, and distribute na lang natin yung negative 4. So, we will have negative 4 plus j4. Okay, over 2. Then, simplify lang natin. We have negative 1 plus square root of, pagsamahin lang natin yung dalawang whole number natin. So, 1 minus 4 is negative 3 plus j4. No? Ayan, over 2. Okay? So, next. So, anong gagawin natin dito? So, focus lang muna tayo dito. Ito lang muna. So, this is what we call discriminant, no? Yung b squared minus 4ac. Hindi kasama yung square root, no? So, b squared minus 4ac. That is our discriminant. And isolve natin, no? Since naka-ano siya, naka-square siya to simplify, no? So, gamitan natin nung ano natin, nung ina-apply natin. So, d sub 0, no? For the discriminant, no? Or d lang muna. Ayan. For the discriminant, we have square root of the absolute value of 3 plus j4 angle 1/2, no? Kasi square root siya. Then times the argument of negative 3 plus j4. Ayan. So, negative 3 plus j4. Ayan. Then, plus 2 pi k. And alam natin na ang k is 0 and 1. Okay, so what is our d sub 0? No, so d sub 0 is equal to, labas natin, no, yung calcu natin. Ayan, so uso ko lang ng kaunti din ito. Ayan, para kitang-kita natin. No, so game. Okay, so we have here our calculator. We have the square root of the absolute value of negative 3 plus 4i. Then shift minus sign para lumabas yung angle natin, no? So yung angle operator, we have 1/2 times shift to 1 the argument, no? Nung complex number natin. So we have negative 3 plus 4i. Then plus 2 pi alpha x. Then calc 0 equals. So we have 1 plus 2i, or simply 1 plus j2. For du sub 1, no? So i-ano ko muna, no, since meron pa tayong natitira, no? So pwede kong i-store to, no, para mas mabilis. Store ko sa a. Okay, so next. Okay, so balik tayo dun sa tinype natin kanina. We have calc 1. Okay, so nabaligtad lang yung sign. We have negative 1 minus j2. So store ko lang rin to, no? Shift stob sa b naman, no? So para later, in case na gusto nyo i-calcu, no, yung pinaka-final answer. Kasi ipa-plug pa ulit natin to dun sa taas, eh. Hindi naman to yung final answer. So, game we have here. Nakakuha na natin, no? D sub 0, D sub 1. So, itong dalawa yung ipa-plug natin, no? So, baba ko lang yung calcu. Ayan. So, we have here negative 1 plus, d sub 0 muna tayo, 1 plus g2 over 2, no? So, j sub 0 to, no? So, j sub 0, ayan. So, ito naman, dito sa kabila, j sub 1, no? So, lagay ko na rin. We have negative 1 plus negative 1 minus j2. Diba? So, over 2. So, z sub 0 natin, alam natin na pagsamahin na lang natin ito. Diba? So, itong negative 1 plus 1, so this will be cancelled. And may iiwan is j2 over 2. So, makakancel din yung 2 natin. Therefore, z sub 1 natin is j. Okay? So, next, rather z sub 0. No? Z sub wait lang. Cancel. Burahin ko na lang. Medyo malayo na pala yung nasulat ko, no? So, z sub 0 is equal to j. No? Simply j or I. No? So, next, si z sub 1 naman. So, this will just be simply mawawala yung plus tsaka yung grouping. No? Kasi, hindi naman yan mababago yung values. Okay? So, ayan. So, we have negative 1 minus 1 minus j2 over 2. So, this will be negative 2 minus j2 over 2. And since common yun to sa taas, mafa-factor out siya, then makakancel din siya. Dahil may 2 din tayo sa denominator. So, cancel, cancel, cancel. Ayan. So, we have z sub 1 is equal to negative 1 minus j. So, this is our answer. Okay? So, that's it for the, for the lesson for today, which is powers and roots of complex numbers. So, I hope you guys learned something. So, basta practice lang. There are a lot of examples naman on the internet that you can work on. No? So, dahan-dahan, wag magmadali. No? Matututo ka din ng mabilis ang solve ng complex numbers kapag nasanay ka na. Okay? So, that's it. Thank you for listening. Okay? Stay safe.